Today we'll be telling the story of St. Peter Damian, whose feast is celebrated on February 21st. Peter was born around 988 in northern Italy. He was the youngest child and had many brothers and sisters. But sadly, when he was still young, his parents passed away and Peter was taken in by his eldest brother. His brother treated him very badly, and Peter suffered a great deal. Then, at around the age of 12, he was taken in by another brother, who treated him completely differently, with love, attention, and a great education. It was the second brother who influenced Peter to study theology and become a teacher. After a successful career, Peter felt called to the religious life. He entered the hermitage of Fonte Avellana and became a Benedictine monk. In 1043, he became the prior, a position he held for the rest of his life. St. Peter Damian is remembered as a great reformer who wrote extensively, sending many letters on the controversies that challenged the church during his time. He worked with and counseled several popes as well. Peter was made a cardinal by Pope Stephen IX in 1057, and after his death was named a doctor of the church. Now it's time for our story. Snow floated down from the sky, coating the cobblestone streets of Ravenna in a light dusting of white. Little Peter walked along the street, making his way home to his brother's house. He shuffled along, his fingers and toes numb from cold. He had been very poor his whole life, but now, living with his cruel older brother, he was very poor and mistreated. His torn and tattered clothes hung off his rail-thin body, and his shoes were so battered and full of holes that the slush from the icy streets seeped right in. He shivered, shoulders hunched as he made his way down the street. A loud growl from his stomach startled him, causing him to look up to see if anyone was close enough to hear it. But there was no one else around on the quiet winter street. When he looked down again as he continued his journey, he saw something shiny poking out from the snow. Peter bent down to see what it was, and there, right in the middle of the path, was a lovely silver coin. His little heart jumped. What an incredible treasure this was! A real silver coin, and since there was no one else around, it was his. Peter was so excited he could hardly contain himself. His mind immediately began to think of all the lovely little sweets and treats he could buy to fill his empty tummy. With the coin in his pocket, he quickly turned around, and hardly noticing the cold anymore, ran to the center of town. He knew exactly where the bakery was, even though he had never actually been inside it before, and couldn't wait to see what he could buy with his new money. But as he hurried along, he thought about his parents. Both of them had died not long before. He missed them so much. They would be so happy that he had found a coin, as it had always pained them that they could not give their children more. They had loved him, and while he missed the physical comforts they had given him, he missed the love even more, the things money could not buy. Just then, the church bells began to ring, and Peter had a new idea. He could use the coin to have a mass said for his parents. Even though they had died, they were still a part of his life, and he could do this amazing thing for them to show his love. He wasn't sure if anyone else had offered masses for them, since most of his family was very poor, and Peter knew that it was important to pray for the dead. But his stomach growled. Peter frowned. This was so hard. This was a really hard decision. He really wanted something to eat, and he knew that his terrible older brother would never buy him a special treat. But he thought the joy of the cake would pass, and he would be hungry again. The graces gained from having a mass said for his parents would never leave. He made his way up the steps of the church and quietly walked inside. The church was peaceful and warm, and Peter felt confident that he was making the right choice. He found the priest and gently asked, "Excuse me, Father, but I have one coin here. Would that be enough for a mass to be said for the souls of my parents?" The kindly priest smiled at Peter and nodded his head that it was. Peter left the church confident, knowing that he had used his coin for something that would last forever, and was very happy with his decision. He had no idea if he would ever get the chance to taste a lovely little cake again, but he knew his parents would continue to pray for him from heaven, and he could continue to pray for them. That Sunday, Peter went to the Mass that was said for his parents. It was beautiful, and Peter felt full to the brim, even though his stomach was still empty. He knew in his heart that his parents were interceding for him in heaven. When he arrived home, he was shocked to find another of his elder brothers, Damian, waiting for him. "Peter, my goodness, look at you. I'm so sorry that you've been treated this way. But I've spoken with the officials, and thank God they've agreed to let me adopt you. From now on, you will live with me." Peter could hardly believe it, but that day everything changed. His brother Damian adopted him and treated him as if he were his own child. He got new clothes, lots of food, and even a fantastic education. Peter was so grateful that he even added his brother's name to his own, and that is why he is known as St. Peter Damian. The story of St. Peter Damian reminds us to aim for joy that lasts, for ourselves and others. St. Peter Damian, pray for us.